broken things can become a blessing if you let God do the mending. Welcome to Broken to be Blessed Network, where dynamic women will share their experiences that will inspire, and experiences that have turned out to be a blessing. Now here's your host, Samantha McNeil.
Hello, everyone. Hello again. Good afternoon, good evening, good night, whatever time it is for you. Thank you for tuning in to Broken to be Blessed Network. I really appreciate you tuning in and happy to have you tune in as we provide you with testimony, inspiration, and motivation. Today, I have a wonderful lady that is going to be sharing her journey with us. A very powerful one, and very interesting and interested, and I'm happy to have her with us today to share her journey.
Joining us on set today is Shanique Davis. She is a Christian Jamaican woman who is zealous about the Lord. She believes that the obedience to God plays an integral part of her life. And living the life of fruitfulness and fulfillment is only possible after you've become the will of God. That is, addressing the inconsistencies of the inner man. Shanique's first book, Breaking Your Barriers, Change Unhealthy Life Cycles, and Unravel the True You, is her lead manual in successfully breaking barriers wherever she goes. Her ministry is Talk Truth Series, a platform for equipping her fellow authors in building their brand while bringing awareness to their message. She is married, and her main aim is to become the woman God has created her to be. Help me welcome and set today, Shanique Davis. Joining us.
Hello, Shanique. How are you doing today?
I am doing great today. Thank you for inviting me. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well, and I'm so happy to have you today sharing your journey with us.
Yes, with pleasure.
Awesome. So we have heard in Shanique's introduction that her first book is Breaking Your Barrier. And I like to call her Miss Breaking Your Barrier. So we know that it's not an easy thing in breaking your barrier and unraveling all the inconsistencies that we have in our life. And a lot of times we don't choose where we're born, what family we're born into, all the things that we are exposed to. But broken things can become a blessing if we let God do the mending. So, Shanique, I'm going to let you tell us how your journey, how you have break your barrier and unravel the new you, the true you, and on your way to become the best that God has created you to be.
Of course. So, hello everyone, and I pray that my story will indeed be a blessing. It is not an easy one to tell, believe me, but I will do my best to shed some light on the most important parts. So, I'm gonna start from the beginning, which is growing up. I look brown and nice, but I did not grow up brown and nice. So there is a thing where in our culture, people look at your complexion and say, you're okay, you're well off, you look normal, you're intelligent in school, you're quiet, you don't give trouble, all of that. And they would assume that looking at you from the outside, you are somewhat perfect, you don't go through anything, you don't have any problems, perfect parents, and all of that. But it was quite the opposite for me, and I'm sure it was for a lot of other you who are watching. I've gone to bed at nights while I was young, hungry. I have had to do without a lot of the things that I believe that I should have gotten while I was growing up, like, the pretty clothes, being able to go to class parties and fairs and stuff like that. I did not see my parents have the best of relationships, a home that would allow a young girl to grow up with confidence in herself, being able to identify what she is worth from that age. I didn't have that. And I didn't have any motivation to do my best. I was always laid back. I was always so reserved. And one thing that was consistent about me growing up is that I was very shy and I had a lot of potential. And when I got older and I thought about that kind of thing that the teacher would put on my report every year, I said to myself, something has to give. I have to do better. Obviously, they're seeing something in me that I'm not seeing in myself because, I lack the confidence, and I didn't feel as if I deserved to go to some schools. I did not deserve to get awards and all of that. So the teachers actually saw that I could if I wanted to, but I didn't have the drive enough. And that's because I was very discouraged growing up, always miserable, always complaining and comparing myself with other people. And, I just decided that this has to stop. So I realized that potential on its own is what I had, but I needed a more fulfilling existence. I wanted to get rid of, the potential that held me in one position. And I felt like having that potential only, I was satisfied with where I was. And when I grew up, I realized I was no longer satisfied with just having potential, with just where I grew up or who my parents are, always telling me that, my mother used to curse me a lot. Now come to nothing, stay like your father, all of these things that parents tell their children. And it really took a toll on me. It took over my mind. And so I just wanted to have a different yet better life. Because your beginning is just the beginning, and it doesn't determine what will happen. You don't live your beginning every day unless you choose to. So I chose to be different in spite of where I started out. You're mute.
I hear you mentioning that while you were growing up, you didn't feel as though you deserved certain things. You didn't have the finer things that any child, any normal child would want to. But yet you realize that based on what your teachers were saying on your report, that you had great potential. I want you
Hmm.
to help us to understand how soon, at what age did you realize that I have potential and now I'm going to own what I've been hearing and I'm going to display that.
Very great question. Let me tell you, when I was going to primary school, I while I was preparing for GSAT, we got the chance to choose what schools we wanted to go to. My mother chose her schools, my father chose his schools, and I barely had a decision in it, even though I was the one sitting the exam. And they had high hopes for me and all of that. Again, the potential stood in my way. And I really, deep down, I really wanted to go to a particular high school. At the time, Campion was it. I don't know if it's still, the school these days. But at that time, around 2006, I really wanted to go to that school. And somehow I convinced myself that my potential should only go to another school, which was St. Mary's College, the one that I chose to go to, instead of Campion, because I told myself I wasn't good enough to go there. I told myself that the children are not going to like me because they don't like me already. My parents don't have no money, I'm not good enough. I'm not pretty. All of the things. I'm not bright enough. And I lived with that. I suffered because of that. I went to high school. I did the usual. I was laid back. I did bare minimum. And I went through all the norms. And then I believe it was when I was approaching 20 years old, 2021, and I saw my life heading in a direction that was, in my mind, meaningless. I had no sense of direction after a time. I wasn't getting any guidance from parents. I didn't have any mentor. I didn't have somebody who understood life enough to teach me. After going through all of the motions, I I tend to do a lot of reflection. And so I realized suddenly that, this is not a place I want to be. I still haven't accomplished anything out of all the years of potential. I still have not committed to something that I can say, yes, I started and I finished. I had cycles of start and stop. Sorry, I had to battle with my self-doubts and insecurities. And I just said to myself, this is it. No more. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of people saying you're just like your mother. You're not gonna go anywhere. You're going to just be worthless. You're going to get pregnant early and you're not going to have anything. I was so tired of hearing these things in my head and then telling myself the same things when I did not live up to a particular standard. I was told that, Shanique have her degree and she just sit down at our house and not doing anything. And at the time, it's not because I wanted to sit down. I could not get a job. I could not get a job. I sent out maybe hundreds of resumes, no calls, maybe one or two. And that was it. And I was so tired of, feeling bad about everything that I was going through. And I decided that, yes, this has to stop. And that was when I actually started planning out breaking your barriers. But I didn't have a name for it. But I told myself that one day I am going to get out of this. I have to come out of it, no matter what anybody else says about me. I have to come out of it. Yeah, and that was it for me.
Awesome. Shanique is telling us that she felt it. She felt as though she knows she had potential. She heard it, but she still did not. She wasn't convinced that she really had all this potential locked up on the inside. But then it was until her 20s that she realized that, hey, wake up call. I gotta start steering my life. Oh, I really looking meaningful and feeling meaningful. But we want Shanique, she mentioned earlier that her parents, she did not see the life displayed of a maybe a happy and a merry family. So I want her to help us to understand what was it like, what was family life like growing up. Did she grow up with both parents in a household, or was it mother? How was it? We want her to help us to understand what was it like, and what she meant when she said to us that it wasn't the life that was displayed to her wasn't one that she wanted to display herself.
Yes, so growing up, my mother and father actually separated when I was about 4 or 5 years old. I believe it was four. And then I got a little sister when I was about five. So they separated and still managed to give me a sibling. Crazy, right? So growing up, living, back and forth, mommy, daddy, mommy, daddy. It takes a toll on little children. I mean, assuming adult responsibilities from a young age is not something that a child can really explain or figure out. You have to be cooking, you have to clean, you have to look after your little sister. That is not something that I was proud of. I wasn't very happy about it. And I would always get cursings and beatings, but sometimes for no reason. And I believe now when I look back at it, it was because my mother was very angry. She too had potential, and I'm sure she realized that when she had us, me and my sister, and what she was going through with my father, that she had potential and she wasn't living her fullest life. And having two children probably felt like a burden. So a lot of the times I knew that she beat us out of frustration. She cursed us out of the anger that she felt whenever she looked at us and she saw our father, and she remember whenever he was unfaithful, if he did something to her, if he said something and she didn't think it was right, we would get the whippings. And it was not I wasn't happy. I was stressed out. Even at school I couldn't focus. I wasn't learning a lot. At one point I thought I was losing my sight. I couldn't manage it. It was too much. I wasn't sick. She took care of us the best that she could, but she got ill from her stresses. At one point she had kidney failures, and when I went to the hospital to visit her, I couldn't cry. I held in the tears because she as to see my mother in that condition, and I couldn't do anything about it. I couldn't hand her a cup of water to drink or say, "Mommy, you're all right." No, I couldn't do anything. And I blamed her and I blamed my father for not living responsibly enough or setting that example for me and my sister. Even though we turned out pretty good, if I do say so myself, but it wasn't the nicest life. We moved from house to house. My mother paid rent. She was a helper at one point, a domestic worker. Um, it wasn't good. It wasn't good for me. So I hated every moment of it. And I spent majority of those years wishing that life was different. So that was my childhood. Yeah.
I tell you, just listening to you going over that, I tell you, it's a lot on a child to, as you mentioned, to be. It's like you're forced emotionally. You're being stretched and dragged into what a child should not be exposed to.
Yep.
And I heard you mention that your mother became ill, and you. So I can just imagine what was that like, because it would have been more on you to cover some things at home because you were the eldest and you're already doing it, and then she's not well, and now it's gonna be extra work for you, extra emotional stress for you. How
Mhm.
was that for you during that time?
My mother, for one, was a very secretive woman. So it started off with her just taking regular visits to the hospital. And she did what they call a dialysis. So the way she explained it at the time, they pulled the blood from her body and they washed it or it ran through a machine, and then it was put back inside of her. And that made her very weak. She lost a lot of weight. She lost her appetite. She could not use the bathroom like a normal person. So I had to wash for her. There were times when I had to leave school and come and prepare something for her to eat. In the earlier days, I used to have to go to school for my sister. I was attending primary school. My sister was going to basic school, and I had to leave school in the evenings or in the afternoon because I went to shift school. So I did morning shift, left school, went out to the basic school for my sister. I had to take a bus that was about an hour or half an hour distance, and then take about two buses back home with her. In high school, I used to leave school and come and look after her. When she came home from the hospital with her dirty clothes, I had to wash them. I had to clean the house. Um, I had to bathe her. I had to do everything. And I think at that time when I kind of needed my father the most, he was more absent during that time. I think now that he could not handle it, it was too much. But because I was closest to her, I had to be the one to do everything for her. And then when there was one particular week where we weren't living together anymore, but I used to visit her. And that day she combed my hair and she said, I'm going to the hospital. When I come back, we can talk and all of that. Before that, we didn't have a good relationship, but she saying that to me really gave me high hopes. Finally we're gonna get to talk, and I have so many questions that I want to ask because I've been dying to hear why I have to do all of these things, what happened between her and daddy. And that was a Tuesday when I last spoke to her. The Friday I was at school, I called her to tell her that, Mommy, it's raining and I can't come up to the hospital because the shoes that I'm wearing is not 100. So I will come and visit you early tomorrow morning, which would be Saturday. And we'll talk, and Saturday, during the day, around midday, she died. And I did not know because some church folks went to visit her and she died. Tuesday morning, which is exactly a week after, my father told me and my sister that right before we went off to school, that our mother died and we still had to go to school.
Yeah.
And that was it. So I've had to live with,
How old were you? What school age at that
I
time?
was about 15, my sister was 10. Yeah. And I made all sorts of
How was
promises
that
that,
morning? That must have been like, I can't even think about it.
listen, I didn't cry at first. I cried after the funeral because I spoke to her and she said she would be coming back. And she
Yeah.
did come back, but she came back in a box, and that was very hard for me. I remember standing over the casket and looking at her like this, like, get up now, no? Because
Yes, yes.
it's not happening. I used to sit on the veranda and wait for her to come back, and she never came. So I promised her that, my little sister, she said, look after your little sister for me. She actually told me that she was going to die and I didn't believe her. I said, you're lying. No, you're not going to die. You're coming out. I said, take care
Yeah.
of your little sister for me. Yes, mommy, I'm going to take care of her. And I did my best. I was very young, but I did the very best I could. And my father was an avatar at that time. They say the time when you need them most, they disappear. Yes. He was there. He gave us lunch money and we had food in the house, but we didn't have that emotional support that we needed. When you lose a mother, it does something to you. It does something to you every Christmas, every birthday, every Mother's Day, every time you see somebody else with their mother. It kills you over and over on the inside. But I am very grateful that I am able to at least smile about it these days because it has been a real struggle.
Wow. Oh my God. I can just imagine. I can't even imagine. I'm lost for words right now. Hearing Shani telling us that at 15, a mother said to her, I'm going to I'll see you. I'm going to come back. And she never came back in a box, in a coffin. And she was already taking on so much emotionally. And now her mother was telling her indirectly that take care of your sister. And now she's going to have to take care of her even more than all that she has been doing. Shanique, you mentioned that you were living at with your mother at that time while she was ill, right? So when she passed, what happened? Where do you live? Where do you go? Who stepped in to take care of both of you? How did that go? Because you mentioned that your father wasn't there emotionally. How was that?
It was very, very hard. I don't think I have the words to fully explain how I
Explain it.
felt, but it felt like both parents were absent. He was there. We had a stepmother, and she did her best. She really tried. And we had other family, but at times my sister and I felt very alone, especially me, because I had to fight to keep a promise that I made, right? So that alone felt like, yo, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I
You're
remember
gonna give it a hard
my
time.
aunt
Yeah.
looking at me, and she said to me, a child without a mother is a lost child. And I'm like, wow, these words, when I think that, somebody that I really looked up to would be there to encourage me and, tell me that if you need anything, I am here, because that was my mother's favorite sister. And she said, a child without a mother is a lost child. And we never got any comfort or any form of consolation from her or the rest of the family. They just let us be. We were basically left at our own will. The only thing they could say is, "Why you don't have no mother?" I saw it go sometime. It rough pound, that's it. And I had to make sure that I did what I said I was going to do.
Wow.
Yeah. So stepmother tried. I commend her. I call her, tell her thanks. I wish her well. We still talk. She send me mangoes because she know I love mangoes. So every time she have mango, she send me some mangoes. And yeah. Mm, that was it.
I, I tell you, it is wow. Those words, saying those words to a child is just too heart wrenching. It's just a lot. But I'm glad and I'm happy that you are here because I know it's one of the challenge that I guess children you find children it's one of the hardest thing to do, but you find that oh my God, when it happens, it's just it's just so hard. It's just so hard as you mentioned. Deal is like you're dealing with it every birthday, every Mother's Day, every time you see somebody with their mother and you, it's like something is missing. There's a void there and that cannot be filled. But I'm happy at how your journey your journey turned to in another direction when you mentioned that at 20 you said to yourself, "Hey, this girl is
Yeah.
gonna break all of those cycles, all of those negative things, all of those emotional things." And I know that emotionally, it's not easy to get over anything that is emotional because every time you think you get over it, as soon as something is like a wound, it's like you fall and you get a wound, and every time if you fall on it again, you realize that it pains much, 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 much more than even the first time because it's there and it's trying to get better, and then you just go on it again. But Shani shared with us that she she decided that I'm going to break this. I'm going to break this barrier. I'm going to break these cycles. And so I want you to help us to understand how did you channel all of these negative emotions, all of these hurt, disappointment, all of these everything, all of these emotions, and turn them into positivity. Because it's very hard. If you ask a lot of people, they don't know how to not still be angry at the persons who should have, and they didn't show up for you when you wanted them. They didn't say the right thing. It's not one of the easiest things to do. So Shanique, help us to understand, how did you transition from all of those hurt, that pain, that disappointment, that batteredness, that all of those things, and then channel all of that and take it, and now say that I'm gonna change my life, I'm gonna change my mind, I'm gonna work on me, I'm gonna break my barrier, and then to even put it in writing, to pen it, to become an author.
I'm glad you touched on that. I was very angry when my mother died. I was angry with my father because I blamed him for leaving me and my sister to grieve on our own. We did not get a channel to, express ourselves because they looked at us. We were very playful at the time. And I guess they said, they're okay, they're laughing, they're watching movies and all of that, so they're fine. So, like you said, I was very angry at everybody. I was angry at myself because I felt like I couldn't get over it. I was angry at the fact that, I had so much potential also on top of that grief, and I wasn't doing anything with it. I was angry because I could not get any jobs. I was angry because I felt all alone in this world, and it really troubled me. I had a lot of sleepless nights because of these things. Even the lies that I told myself, that I wasn't good enough and nobody loved me because the person who was supposed to love me the most is no longer here. So, why do I even try? I'm very glad also that I'm here unbroken to be blessed. Samantha McNeil has this saying where she says, mindset is everything. Mindset is everything. And I believe at 2021, I had a change of mind. I cannot explain it. I guess it was all the torture that I allowed myself to go through with all of these barriers, all the things that held me back. I just decided, hey, enough of this crying every year. I still cried, but I did what I have to do in spite of the crying. When you said enough, when you said mindset is everything, there is something about that, and I'm gonna tell you how real it is to me. When I was getting ready to come on to share, I got so nervous. I don't know why. I said, this is Samantha, why am I nervous? And I feel a heat take over my body. I was hot. I started sweating. And I sat down and I said, no. Mm-mm. And the minute I cleared my mind and shifted my focus from the nervousness and having to open up in front of people what I've been through, I don't know where he turned. I don't know where nervousness run gone. And that is the thing about mindset. You see, the more you focus on something, it's the more it presents itself. It's not because there are people who are better than others. It's their mindset that creates everything that's in their reality. When I used to focus on the loss of my mother, me nah say me no miss her, me miss her every single day. Even now, I'm not saying that, people don't have their struggles. I'm not bashing anybody for anything that they've gone through, because people's struggles are real, emotions are real. But you see, a mindset, you see, if you just change your focus, from the thing that you think you don't have to something that you can be grateful for, you will definitely be able to shift your entire life. I learned to stop focusing on not having a mother and focus on the fact that I had a stepmother who cared just the same. I had other people in my family. I have a grandmother who she loved me going to bed. She would call me every day. I started focusing more on the fact that I could be so much more. I could be happier. Focus on different things. And that is how you will get to change your entire life. That is how you'll get to challenge the accuracy of the things around you, the things that come to hold you bound. Everything starts in your mind. It starts from a single thought and then it grows into something else. So the minute I learned to shift my focus from just having potential to actually making something of myself, I realized that indeed mindset is everything. Anything that you want to achieve in life has to do with your mindset. You could lose everybody, God forbid, in your family, and you could cry your eyes out till God comes. But the minute you take your mind off the sorrow, off the pain, off the hurt and the anger and the disappointment of them not coming back, that is when you will start seeing things in a better light. It's your mindset. If I was focusing on the nervousness and how hot I was getting before I came on to share, I would not have done this. I would probably text Samantha and say, I cannot do it. I don't feel so well. But I changed my mind. I turned my focus from it because I really didn't want to open up. Because being vulnerable is not an easy thing to do, especially when you have to go cry in front of people. But when you shift your mindset, just listen to Samantha. Mindset is everything. The minute you change your mind, listen, it's game on from there. You can do anything. I remember walking up a hill one time and I feel my leg them start get weak and I was so tired. I said, no, me can't go no further. And I don't know, something said to me, push yourself and walk up now, my girl. And believe me, Samantha, when I did it, it's like me don't know where strength come from. And I feel tired again. So it is our mind. I think about my mother probably more than my sister. I remember her. I remember some lessons that she taught me. She taught me how to cook and all of these things. Listen, I still remember, but I don't focus on it. You can remember that, you are still not where you want to be in life. And you start thinking how much opportunities you miss. You could have apologized. You could have got a job. You could have went to study here. You could have made some money there. You could have met your husband or whatever the case may be. But you see, the minute you stop focusing on the then, you have more room for the now. And that is what breaking barriers is all about. You see, the mind can create a lot of walls and blockages. I've had to destroy a lot of self-doubt. I was my biggest self-critic. I mean, I told myself some harsh things. And that's because I believed what other people said about me and what they said to me. And I had to crush them. I had to break them. I had to remove some things from in front of me so I could be happier today. I am very happy. I don't know if you can see it. I don't think you can see it. I am crying because I miss my mother, but I'm very happy that before she died, she taught us some great lessons. She still taught me and my sister how to be good women, how to not do certain things. She taught me how to cook my favorite meal, and that is turkey neck. And I am so grateful for that. She taught me a lot of things. And if I was focusing on she not being here, I would not do what I'm supposed to do now. So that's it. Breaking barriers is a mindset. It is your right to live your best life. And I want to tell you that I discovered that at around 2021. And I am glad I discovered it because I get the opportunity to tell other persons that it is your right. And God gave that right to you the minute you were born. It is your mindset that changes every single thing. Believe it or not, just give it a try. I had to change my mind. And when I stopped focusing on the fact that my father wasn't available when I needed emotional support rather than financial support, I did something with myself. I got the job I wanted. I went out and I worked. I pushed. I got married. I built a house. I invested. I wrote books. I've done it. And I'm telling you that anybody can do it. If I did it, you can do it. It's your mindset. At the end of the day, if you just think differently, so many things would change. Think differently. It is hard. We grew up hard in some harsh conditions. I've gone to bed hungry a lot of nights. I've gone to school without lunch money. I've had to beg bus fare to go home. My parents don't know this, but I've had to sacrifice a lot. But it's your mindset that takes care of the rest.
Wow, just profound, just profound, just profound, I tell you. And while I sat here and I thought, this thought came back to me that we are, in fact, the creator of thoughts. And anything that we think on is going to expand in our life. So we have to make that conscious decision. And Shanique said it. She shared with us that we were given that choice. We were given that right to choose if we want to be happy or we want to continue in all the other things that we didn't ask for. We didn't want it, but it's our experience. I'm grateful today, Shanique, for you sharing your journey with us. Thank you so much for being here. And I am sure, I know that this, your testimony, your journey will inspire and motivate others because it's real, it's from your heart, and we feel it and we know. I've often said that if we measure our success from the angle in which we want to go, we will become so miserable. Every single day of our life will be miserable because we're all going to think, oh, I want to go there and not there. And it feels so far fetched and it's going to show you every day that you're not there. And you're going to be so angry and so miserable. But if you ever start looking and measuring your success from the angle of which you are coming from, you realize how blessed you are, how far you have come. And you look and you say, wow, I've grown. I've accomplished something. I'm not where I want to, but wow, 5 years ago, I look even different than I used to look 5 years ago. Even my pictures look different. Something happened. I did something new. I achieved something new. And that is how we want to look at life. Let go. Tell ourselves that we deserve this, we own this, and just move forward. Thank you again, Shanique. And as you have often said, that broken things can become a blessing if you let God do the mending. He can do it. He will do it. But we have to let Him. We have to let Him do it in order for Him to do it because He's not going to force us to do anything. He's going to allow Him to do it. And as we close, we're just going to have Shanique sharing with us for anyone out there that has been broken, that has lost their mother, whether now or at a young age, who have been struggling with self-doubt, hurt, disappointment, pain, and it seems as though they can't let it go because this have hurt me and they shouldn't have hurt me. And I don't want to let go of this because they have wronged me. Today she share with you And she have forgiven, she have let go, not because of anybody, but because of her own self. That's one of the things. Forgiveness is not something we do for other people. We do it for ourselves so that we can get well and that we can move on. We're going to let Shanique just pour into your spirit for a little bit, for about 2 minutes, and share with you how, empower you if you're going through anything that she has gone through. She'll share with you how she overcome and continue to overcome. Over to you, Shanique.
Thanks, Samantha. So I just want to remind somebody out there who is seeing my face. You've heard what I said. You know your own struggles, your own tales, your own pain. I want to remind you that life will always throw you punches. Life is always gonna hit you hard because you are in the ring. You're born into a boxing ring, believe it or not. You're born into it. You're born to fight. You're already born a winner. Jesus don't have the golden belt, and he has empowered every single one of you to fight. And I'm telling you that no matter what happens, make up your mind to fight for your right. It is your right to live your best life. It is your right to be happy. It is your right to overcome. It is your right to succeed. It is your right. It's your right. But you have to fight for it. And when life throws you the hardest punches, please, may I beg you, I am begging you, get up and fight and don't let go. There is something that fell in my spirit one morning. I woke up and it was from the story where Joshua, no, it wasn't Joshua, Jacob was fighting with the angel the entire night. He wrestled to get his blessing. And I heard the voice of God say to me, don't stop until the ball is in your court. I'm sorry, don't stop until all odds are in your favor and the ball is in your court. So never give up. It's a constant battle for life, but keep on fighting until all odds, everything that was meant to stop you, every punch that was meant to discourage you and to keep you down, don't stop fighting until all of that stops and the ball rolls in your court. Don't stop until everything that's meant to happen for you happens. Keep on pushing, and one day you will see yourself where you've always dreamed you would be. Don't stop pushing.
Thank you so much, Shanique. Thank you, audience. Thank you for watching, for liking, and for subscribing. If you have not done so, please do so because we're building a great network over here, right here. And we believe that it is, in fact, a new season, the right time that uh, we can listen and understand and see where persons have been because it's just something there's just something powerful about a testimony that someone shares with us who have gone through something and they can tell you that I've been here and look at where I am, look at how I have overcome. Shanique is an is a author is an author of the book Breaking Your Barriers. I'm going to let her tell us where we can get that book to purchase.
Yes. The book is online on Amazon on the Kindle version, and the paperback version is there. The copies in Jamaica are at York Pharmacy, that's in Halfway Tree. Brian's Bookstore, I believe that's a Christian bookstore. They have about 3 locations in Jamaica. And they're also at Sangsters, which has several bookstores. And the cost in Jamaica per copy is $2,500. Just and it's not just a book; it's a real game changer. And I can promise you that if you are willing to get a better life, and if you are wanting and desiring to be yourself and your best self, then that, of course, is for you. Start breaking your barriers.
Thank you again, Shanique, for being here with us and sharing your journey. Have yourself a blessed evening. Bye bye. Bye bye, viewers. Remember to like, to share, and subscribe.